Hello everyone, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. My name's Zoe. As you can see, today we're on a squash court because I'm going to be teaching you how to play squash. Alright, so let's start with the court. As you can see, squash is played on a box-like court with a front wall, two side walls and a back wall. And on the floor there is a half court line and a short line that intercept and are known as the tee. There's also two service boxes on each side, and all these lines on the floor are only applicable when you're serving. On the front wall, this bottom line and below is known as the tin, and this area is out. This middle line is the service line, and at the top there's a line that goes all the way around the outside of the court, and this line and above is also out. So now that we know what all those lines mean, let's get into how to play. First of all, the warm-up. Anytime you play, you will need to warm the ball up, as squash is played with a hollow rubber ball that doesn't really bounce when it's cold. There are a few different types of squash balls, but the most common training and competition ball is the Dunlop double yellow dot ball, which is what we'll be using today. But for beginners, depending on your level, there are a few options, including the single yellow dot ball and the blue dot ball, which are a little bit more bouncy. Anyway, back to the warm-up. There is a dedicated warm-up time of 4 minutes before each match for you and your opponent to hit the ball and warm it up. After 2 minutes, the referee will call half-time for you and your opponent to swap sides, and then after 4 minutes, they'll call time. Obviously, if you're just hitting casually or in a social league, this is a little bit more relaxed, and it is up to you and your opponent to choose when you swap. Once the warm-up is complete though, either you or your opponent will spin your racket to decide who serves. Now with the serve itself, each point starts with a serve, and when you are serving you must have at least 1 foot in the service box, and the ball has to hit the front wall first, between the service line and the top line on the front wall, as well as go past the short line and on the opposite side of the half court line where your opponent will be. If the ball does hit the service line or below, or it doesn't make it past the short line or the half court line, then it is a fault. It is also a fault if the ball hits the outer line or above. And if you do hit a fault, it is the other person's point. When consecutively winning points, you must alternate serving between the right and left service boxes. And lastly, when returning a serve, you can either wait for the ball to bounce once before you hit it, or you can hit it on the full. So in squash, there are 4 main shots, and all of these can be played on both your forehand and your backhand. The first shot is a straight drive, and the aim of straight drive is to hit the front wall and come straight back down the side wall towards the back of the court. Straight drives are the most basic and common shot in squash, but they are quite important in keeping your opponent behind you. The second shot is a drop shot. These are quite an attacking shot and a great way to finish a point or just move your opponent from the back to the front of the court. The third shot is a boast. So a boast is when you hit the ball into the side wall at an angle before it hits the front wall. Boast can be quite a defensive shot from the back of the court if you're stuck, but they can also be an attacking shot. The fourth shot is a cross court. So a cross court is when you hit the ball towards the middle of the front wall so it lands on the other side of the court. Cross courts are great for moving your opponents around. Alright, so now that we have our serve and our shots, let's put them together into a rally. Each point in squash consists of a rally, and like I said before, it starts with a serve. So once either you or your opponent serve, you then take turns in hitting the ball. During a rally, you and your opponent can hit the ball anywhere in the court as long as it is above the tin and below the outline, but the ball must hit the front wall before either of you hit it. The ball can hit the side wall or the back wall either before you hit the ball or before it reaches the front wall, and the ball can only bounce on the ground once before you hit it. Now, referee decisions. During a rally, if there is any interference by your opponent on your way to the ball, or you think it is unsafe for you to play the ball, then you'll need to stop straight away and ask the referee for a let. It is then up to the referee to decide whether the call is a let, a no let, or a stroke. So a let is when there is minimal interference, but your opponent is making their best effort to clear. When this happens, the referee will say yes let, and the point will be replayed. A no-let is pretty much the opposite of the let, and it is when the referee deems there was no interference and you could have safely played the ball. When this happens, the referee will call no-let, and it'll be your opponent's point. And a stroke is when there is no way you could have safely played the ball, as your opponent has not cleared properly or they are in the way of your swing. When this happens, the referee will call stroke and it will be your point. Some other terms you'll hear the referee say are hand out. This is when it is a change of serve. So say you served and you lost that point, it is then a hand out to your opponent. Something else you'll hear is not up. This is if either the ball has bounced twice before you hit it or you hit the tin. You'll also hear out. This is if the ball hits that outer top line or above, then it is out. You'll also hear fault. This is if either you serve down or out, then it is a fault serve. And lastly, scoring. So a squash match is best of 5 games and each game goes to 11 points. And if you do get to 10 all in the game, then you have to win by 2 clear points and it is point a rally. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something new. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.